Welcome back to the Absolute Arsenal podcast. As we sit here and wait, the countdown is at 13 days until Arsenal Man City. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to come and give you some content for your ears. So I am joined, as always, by Christian Escalera.
What's up?
And we are bringing back special guest from our Liverpool pod, Victor Jeronimo. What's up, dude?
Happy to be back.
Love it. So today is going to be a very, very special episode of the Absolute Arsenal podcast. Full transparency, I have absolutely stolen this from Arsblog because it's always awesome listening, and I'm really excited that we get to do it ourselves. But we are calling this Declare and Defend. What does declare and defend mean, you might ask? Well, I'm here to tell you. So essentially, what we're going to do is we are going to throw out various declarations or statements, and then we are going to go around, and each one of us will say if we either strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree, and defend it. So you declare your stance, and then you defend it. So a very simple one, as I used on the Instagram stories today, would be Tottenham are shit. And PJ would say, absolutely. They get battered everywhere they go. And Christian would say, yes, it's the history of the
Strongly
Tottenham.
agree.
Yeah, strongly agree. It's the history.
They just suck.
Yeah. And Victor would say,
Strongly agree.
because
they suck.
Let them get battered everywhere they go.
Exactly. Smart man. I told you, he's a Liverpool fan, but we like him for many reasons. So he's off to a good start. Nowhere to go but down. Okay. So let's jump in. I threw a request out for some statements, and we got some really good ones. So I am going to start first and foremost with Dan Kaplan. So Dan says, Arsenal's, and I quote, biggest ticket purchase this summer should be another wide player rather than a striker. And I'll add context to it. That doesn't mean that we aren't also going to sign a striker. He is basically saying the biggest signing we're going to make, like biggest money, biggest spend, biggest name, whatever you want to call it, will be in the wide area rather than an attacker. Whoever wants to go first, I'll let you
Disagree.
All right, Victor, the Liverpool fan, jumps in first with a disagree.
Yeah, I'm only not saying strongly disagree because there's potential that maybe you guys just end up spending a little more on a wide player for whatever reason. I think you could use another winger for depth, so I don't think you'll really take up that much of the budget. You guys just simply need a striker, so I disagree. Not going to go strongly because I could see you guys purchasing a winger either way, just to give Saka, Martinelli some rest. But I just see no way where there isn't a Declan Rice-esque signing this summer in the striker position.
I strongly disagree. Because what we need next season is goals. And we need a lot of goals from one player. So I think the wings are very good covered with the healthy Martinelli and Saka. So I think the position that we really need to get strong on is the a center forward that can play, make the team play, and then also score like 15, 20 goals in one season.
Yeah. I'm going to go disagree rather than strongly disagree, just because I could see a wide player being the big ticket signing, with the caveat, and this isn't me avoiding the question, that they are very versatile and can play across multiple positions. I only say that because that seems to be the theme of every single signing that Mikel Arteta has made for all facts and purposes. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, besides like a goalie, of signing a player who can literally only play one position. So if their primary position is out wide, I still think that could happen. But they would also play in other areas. I think if we're going to go big on a signing this summer, I see it being either at striker or the 6 or the 8, whichever one we decide we don't want to be Declan Rice's primary position. But it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility, in my opinion, if Rafael Leao became the big signing, or somebody like that. But Leao can also play in other positions. I could see him playing.
Can he play like striker?
I could see him playing in the false 9. I mean, I don't watch AC Milan week in, week out.
I don't really pay attention to them, yeah.
I get the vibe that he could fit the false 9 concept, but he suffers. I mean, not that I don't mean to make this a Rafael Leao, podcast. Pedro Neto, something like that. They can play multiple positions. And again, we're not getting Neto. No one's touching Neto. Okay, I'm going to just stop this before it goes off the rails. All right. Next statement. Jack Sobuski says ESR needs to go in the summer.
Disagree. I think he just needs minutes, not to go. I mean, worst case scenario alone, but I wouldn't let him go.
He needs. If you're saying he needs minutes, is he getting minutes at Arsenal?
No, but we don't know why he's not getting minutes. But like I said, I don't think we should get rid of him. Maybe a loan to get minutes and just kind of just see that he is who he is, or proof that he is who he is, and then he comes back and he can get minutes of the team. I don't see him not being able to get minutes in this team with the way he played when he was healthy and playing constantly, So that's why I think is disagree.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily clear in the question, but I assume we are answering this from the perspective of Arsenal, not Emile Smith Rowe.
Yeah, I agree with that.
If the question is ESR needs to go in the summer, if this is from Arsenal's perspective, I think it's one answer. I think it's from Emile Smith Rowe's perspective, it's a different answer.
From the club's perspective, yeah. I still don't think we should let him go.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think.
Yeah, I'm saying I think this question is from the club's perspective.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he should go anywhere.
I will. Victor, you want to go? You're about to spit it out.
I actually want to let the two Arsenal fans go first before I give my opinion.
He once said at Liverpool. That's why he's smiling.
I'll pass.
I keep flip-flopping on this. My emotion's going to get the best of me, and I'm going to say disagree. Because I think a fit and firing Smith Rowe is worth it. I'm going to take the practical approach of FFP and say it's worth keeping him for your homegrown quota and the fact that it's another guy you can hopefully get use out of, and he's going to be a full net profit when you sell him, because I think this summer we are going to sell Eddie Nketiah for sure. I think there's a good chance you're going to sell Reece Nelson, and those two are giant net positives. So from an accounting perspective, I would say you keep him so you have another chip to play with that is pure profit when you need to, from an FFP perspective, the next time we want to spend big. I also think from ESR's perspective, he's going to want to stay and fight first place. It just seems pretty clear that he is not giving up on his Arsenal career. So even though candidly he probably should, I don't think he's going to. Not from the fact that he's not good enough, just from the fact that actions speak louder than words. Arteta can praise our ESR as much as he wants. If he's not going to play, in games where we're killing teams and we're up 6-0 in the 75th minute and you're not bringing him on, what more can you do? So I'm going to go with disagree, but it's a tough one.
I'm gonna go with agree. If I wanted to let you guys go first.
Okay.
I almost said disagree for that reason as well. You talked about the homegrown quota, and I think if you guys are planning on signing players that aren't English or homegrown, obviously it's important to keep them around. But gonna go with agree because I think you guys just need to be ruthless if you wanna stay at this level and improve. I think we saw it with Liverpool, where a lot of people were worried that Klopp just had too much faith and was too loyal to his players, and that kind of bit us in the ass last season. And then this season, he was just ruthless, got rid of all the deadwood, and here we are again, despite everything, fighting for titles. So I think when you're trying to be the best team in England, the best team in Europe, I think you have to be ruthless, which is why I think I do agree that I think they should be pushing to sell him.
If we're gonna sell, I would insist on one of a sell-on clause or a buyback clause,
Which is
or at
fair
least a
because
first right of refusal.
I think he's a great player. So
Yeah, it's tough because, going back to what Christian said about what he brought to the team, he brought a lot to the team, but he pretty strictly played off the left wing. And Arteta's made it very clear he is not playing on the left wing basically ever again. If he's going to play for us, it's going to be in the 8, which I think he can do, but he hasn't given him minutes in that spot, which is tough. He could probably play Odegaard's role too.
I also think
I think if we were,
I was just gonna say I just think you guys could get a good amount of money for him as well.
You still think we can?
Yeah,
I think if we didn't sell him, and sorry, go ahead.
just being English, like that adds on an extra like £20 million to any player. So.
Christian, anything to add?
No, I was just gonna say I don't think if we didn't sell him this January window, I think we're just gonna keep him this summer. Worst case scenario, he goes January or May next year if things don't change.
Fair. Christian, I'm going to toss it to you for the next one. I know you had a couple you want to throw out there.
Ooh, I wish Rob was here for my second one, but kind of want to say this one because I've asked this to a couple people and I've had different answers. So Tottenham is like our biggest rival, right? And we talked about them a lot. And every game, it doesn't matter if it's Champions League or anything, you hear that chant, like, what do you think of Tottenham, right? I don't think they're, as a club, they're on our level, and they have never been in our level, but we give them a lot of importance because of the history of the derby. So do you think it's a blessing for them to be considered a rival or the main rival for Arsenal?
I strongly... So wait, is the statement it's a blessing that they get to be our rival?
Yes.
I strongly agree.
Like, we, obviously it's kind of the main, like, North London. It's like our closest club,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And obviously for them, we are the biggest rivals. But I think for me, I don't see them as our biggest rival or our biggest game.
I strongly agree. I think
never.
that
Ever since I started watching Arsenal, never.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
No, it's super fair. I strongly agree because I think there's a lot of components of getting to be our rival that makes them even more relevant. And there are probably a lot of Tottenham fans that that are not from North London who were born into Tottenham fanhood to spite an Arsenal fan. Do I think there are a whole lot of Arsenal fans born into fanhood to spite a Tottenham fan? Probably not. they're constantly being measured to us, despite clearly, on the pitch, not really earning that right. So I'm going to say strongly agree because I think we make them relevant and have given them the platform to launch into what they are today. And I don't think they have $1 billion stadium if they're not our rival. I think if they're just another London club, they're just another London club. They're a Crystal Palace. They're just another club from London.
I agree. Bordering on strongly agree, but I'm going with I agree. And I'm only saying that because I think you guys aren't giving them enough credit for how good they were when Arsenal were shit. They were a win away from winning a Champions League before Arsenal did. You're welcome, by the way, as a Liverpool fan. But
but we were at the same spot too. At some point, we lost the final.
100%. But it's not like. So the comparison I was going to make is I feel like every big team has a little brother in the same city, and then a more historic rival. Liverpool have Everton, but then there's Man U. Real Madrid have Atletico Madrid, but then there's Barcelona. So there's definitely that, but I think you can't even compare it really to Liverpool and Everton because Everton haven't been good for a very, very long time. You obviously got to go back way in history for when they were challenging at the top. But I think that there were instances where Spurs were better than Arsenal in recent history. And you guys should give them a little more.
There was 3 years that they were better, or they would finish above us in the league, right? Yeah. 4 years.
Yeah, so I think they're still relevant, but I don't think Arsenal are on a different tier level of club than Spurs, 100%. So that's what I'm saying. I'm going with agree. I'm definitely leaning more towards strongly agree, but I think there needs to be a little bit of credit given to Spurs. That's my opinion.
Christian, you're welcome to answer your question if you want to.
Oh, I have to answer?
You don't have to.
Obviously, I strongly agree.
Yeah, you don't. No, you don't have to. If you're just want to say I strongly agree, we're done.
I just don't think they, we give them obviously it's the North London Derby. Everybody goes crazy about it, and it's the big deal. But personally, in terms of club size and competition, competing, I think I consider Chelsea to be a bigger rival. Talking about the London clubs, or a bigger game than Spurs. They're closer to us. They're the derby, but it's like Victor said. It's like Liverpool considering Everton their main rival. I am sure that Everton considers Liverpool my rival, but Liverpool is more like we're close, but my guy is United. That's the guy that I have a problem with, not you.
Yeah, I get it.
I will say though, I think if you asked 2 guys from North London and then a guy from Liverpool who was born and raised there, I think they give very different answers to what we just gave. Because the hatred you have for your local rival is very different when you're actually from the region.
Yeah, very fair.
So I can feel the passion and the hatred when there's a derby on between a Merseyside derby on with the atmosphere. But I personally don't have it because to that extent of I hate Man U because I grew up with the historic rivalry and the big games are against United, even though City. But with Everton, it's I didn't grow up going to school and bickering with Everton friends and stuff like that. So I think it is very different, and it's actually something I'd be really interested in if you walked around and asked 100 people in Liverpool this question, 100 people in North London, would they agree with what we're saying? I think it'd be very different because local rivalries, it's called that for a reason.
Well, if we needed any excuse to go on an extra trip to London and Liverpool, I mean,
I'm all for it.
Guess we had one. Yeah. So, all right. I have another one, and full disclosure, this was sent in as a question about 2 months ago, and I said to my buddy Lex, who sent this in, dude, this is a phenomenal question. I'm going to do a statements podcast during the international break, and I'm saving it for that. And Victor, this was not planned to have you here for it, but I am so glad that you're here for this.
I'm excited now. Also, just because you said great question, I did want to shout out Christian because that was actually a really good question. Like that one
was a
made
very
me
good
think.
question. Yeah,
That was a really good question.
All right. So my boy
We
Lex.
all agree they suck.
Yeah, we agree. We agree.
Good.
We do
that.
agree.
Yeah, that we can all get behind. So Lex Shodipe, my homie. I hope you're doing well in DC, my friend. He was my gym buddy here in New York City, and then he moved, and I'm sad. But he listens to the podcast, and he states, Theo Walcott was a better attacker than Gabriel Martinelli. So I am viewing this as Theo Walcott at his peak was better than Gabriel Martinelli at his peak
Today.
thus far in his career. Yes.
I agree.
I strongly agree.
Yeah, I think
Victor's
Walcott-
mind is blown.
peak
I was expecting
Theo
that.
Walcott before his injury. Like I think he was really one of the players that kept us, in the top four in those struggling years, and winning the FA Cup. Even after he came back from his first injury, he was still like legit. And Martinelli had a great year last year. I'm not saying that Martinelli's future peak, could be higher than or cannot be higher than Walcott. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying today's Martinelli versus peak Theo Walcott. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of my strongly agree, I want to reiterate, just as you just did, I think peak Gabriel Martinelli will far exceed peak Theo Walcott. 1,000,000%. If he doesn't exceed peak Theo Walcott, it's a gigantic peak too early disappointment. With that said, if you look back at Theo Walcott at his best, if you look at the season with the Sign-to-Ting saga, when he hadn't re-signed his deal and we were like figuring out what to do. I actually was writing blogs about this during the OG Absolute Arsenal back in like 2011, 2012, crunching numbers of if we were to re-sign Theo Walcott versus to sign Wilfried Zaha from Crystal Palace before he went to Manchester United. That was a blog I wrote on this page. But Theo Walcott was like barely playing. Like Wenger was benching him because he wouldn't sign a contract, and then he would come on for 30 minutes in the second half and like score 2 goals and have like an assist in nothing. Like he was killing everyone. Like he was taking free kicks, like actually was more than just a speed merchant. He was doing everything right. I already see Victor. I see the light going on his face as he looks up statistics, and he's just like ready to go.
I'm ready.
But Theo Walcott at his peak, the season that he was holding out on the contract, that was one of the best players in the world for those months. I'm not saying he sustained it, but Theo Walcott, you look at like his big moments, like that run against AC Milan. He had that run against Liverpool. Sorry, Victor. The one where he schooled the entire AC Milan team and rolled it to Adebayor And Adebayor, being the jerk off that he was, ran to the other corner flag to celebrate as if he did anything. And the entire other 9 members on the pitch and the entire bench and everyone ran to Walcott at the other corner. If that didn't sum up Emile Adebayor, I don't know what does. But that Theo Walcott was better than the best we've seen of Gabriel Martinelli. As I said, though, I expect Martinelli to far exceed that. He just hasn't gotten there yet. And that's not anything bad. He's freaking like, what? Is he 22? Like, that's not a knock.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Victor. Here we go.
I went from strongly disagree to disagree because it's prime against someone who's still emerging. So fair.
Yeah.
And
just in case, Victor, to just help your cause, I think we need to disclose for anybody who didn't listen to the Liverpool supporter pod that we had Victor on. Victor is from Brazil, so he is a diehard Liverpool supporter and a massive literal Brazilian because he is Brazilian and lived on a farm with many cows in Brazil.
I was gonna say, to preface this, I'm Brazilian, so I have a bias here. But I think there's some massive nostalgia going on here. And as you said, I was looking up stats because I was like, there's no way Theo Walcott was ever this good. Theo Walcott's best season, he scored 14 goals in the Prem. Martinelli had 15 last season.
What about goal assist?
Had more assists if you take best season, but his best is it's like 20-something, 26 goals and assists. Last season, Martinelli had 20. So I think Martinelli is a better goal scorer than Theo Walcott ever was. Theo Walcott was a lot. Like, his pace was insane. On his day, he was great. But I don't think he was consistent enough. And I just think you guys are remembering the best moments of Theo Walcott, and I need to emphasize moments rather than I think Martinelli was so consistent last season. And I think you look at this Arsenal team now and the heights that you guys are reaching is fighting for the Prem, potentially fighting for the Champions League this season. Martinelli has been integral to that. And that's not something I think Theo Walcott was doing. And 100%, the question was, like, do I think Martinelli at his peak? I would be on strongly disagree all the way. Like, I think peak Martinelli will be one of the best players in the world. I think he's phenomenal. But I think already what he did last season is comparable to prime Theo Walcott.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at stats alone, fine. But if you want to talk about, like, just overall production, like, I'm telling you, if you look at that season where he was playing on the right wing and he was demanding that he wanted to play striker, and this was part of the whole contract thing, but when he would play on the right wing, man, he got so few minutes and put up such insane stats while doing it. If there was a way to see, like, goal contribution per 90, I mean, I think it would demolish the best that Martinelli has produced.
Is there like a specific season that you're talking about with the?
I want to say I'm thinking back to was it 2012, 2013? I think was the year that he was in a huge contract.
It was
dispute.
when Fabregas left.
Yeah, he had 14 goals and 12 assists that season, and was just, and he barely played. Barely played. And it was 14 and 12. That was just in 32 appearances in the Prem. He also had, let's see, goal and assist in the Champions League, goal in the FA Cup, 5 goals in the League Cup, 3 assists in the League Cup in 2 matches. Like, he was just straight up balling.
Yeah. No, Theo Walcott was great. And that's why, again, I've changed it from I strongly disagree initially to, okay, disagree because in his prime is phenomenal. And I definitely have a bias. I just think there's a lot of nostalgia going on. And obviously we can remember – I could probably remember every Liverpool game I don't want to say last season because it was so bad. Like 2 seasons ago, when you're in a title race, you lose it so closely, you'll probably remember, oh my God, Martinelli missed that one chance and fucked up our whole season. That's a lot fresher in your mind than every mistake Theo Walcott has made. So I think there's nostalgia going on here. Like,
Yeah,
I would have taken agrees and I'm like, you know what, fair. The same way I'm like on disagree, I can see how you would agree, but strongly disagree, I think is crazy to me.
I'm confident in my answer. That's the reason I strongly.
That's how confident in
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah. I'm not saying like he was, when I say strongly agree, I'm not saying he was way better. I'm just saying, no, I'm confident that the best Theo was in his entire career, which again, like, dude went to the World Cup at 16 and had the longest career. Like, came up super young. Martinelli's barely come up. So it's insane to think that it's even possible Martinelli's peak would not destroy Walcott's. And Walcott's peak was a damn good peak. So
let's hope so for Brazil's sake.
So, yeah, sure. Why not? Okay. Recurring guest Michael Chavez in the mix. What's up, Michael? He says Thomas Partey will win us the league. I think it's an ode to not just him coming in and starting and dominating, but also the additional depth he'll provide for rotation as we hit this run in between a mix of Prem, Champions League, etc., where it's going to be really important given how many games we play. So he did make a nod to depth in his statement.
I would say agree. I think he's going to be that player that we didn't sign in January, but it's a new player in January, and it's going to have a massive impact on the like you said, in the latest stages of this two massive competitions that are, we're going to play at, what is it, maybe potentially 15 games in 2 months, 10 league games, and five Champions League games if we get to the final. So yeah, I think I would say agree.
Vic, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I can go. I'm kind of flip-flopping because if you guys win the league, I think it's more to do with disagree. I think it's more to do with the players who got you there now. That's not to say having him there is not. It's going to be a massive help.
But think about it. Think about it the way
so
that
important.
City got
So
Gundogan last season.
I think that
the players got him to where they were, and then this guy came in fucking January and just flipped the table.
I
by
think
himself, pretty much.
I think if you have to pick one player, like this player won Arsenal the league, to me, it's Declan Rice. And for that, I would say disagree on the Thomas part, but I can see where you would say, yeah, Thomas Partey coming back helped push us on. I just think I can't say agree on it because Declan Rice in a very similar position has elevated you guys to a new level. And I think
I'm not putting Declan Rice on the bench.
No, I get that.
Yeah. So we're saying, like, just a better understanding of the question is kind of like our percentage with Thomas Partey coming in could be a lot higher than with the squad that we have right now, or Declan Rice and Jorginho playing together. I think that's how I understood the question.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick and then you guys follow up. So I am taking the statement as the addition of Partey coming in is going to allow us to consistently play at a full strength level every match. And if we are to win the league, his addition will be the difference in us not bottling it in the final 10 matches like we did last year. So I'm going to agree. I'm torn on it. But I think if this Arsenal are going to win it, And I'm basically saying it's a new season starting right now. There's 10 games left. Forget the past 28. If we're in the sense of like, if this team right now and there is no Thomas Partey, I think our odds go way higher if we have a fit and firing Thomas Partey. If we have a rusty looking Thomas Partey like we had the last, whatever appearance or two he's had since he came back, he's not adding anything to us. But he frequently looks like that when he first comes back. He looks like really bad. He doesn't look like he's moving well. But if he can find his fitness, and shout out Thomas Partey, say no to Ghana so he can regain fitness.
Yes.
We're finally learning. Our players are finally figuring out. Sorry about Big Gabby for Brazil, Victor. But again, we're starting to learn the ways of how you win a title, and it's you better reject this last international call-up, among other things. So I'm going to agree, just to close the loop, because I think if we're going to win and we're going to outlast City and we're going to outlast Liverpool, we're going to need a major boost in contribution if we're going to sustain this. So that's my take. Anything you guys want to add, or should we move to the next?
No, I think that's fair. And I think the way you stated it leans me more towards agree. I think just the way the original statement was just like, Thomas coming in is going to be the reason we win the league as an Arsenal fan. And that, to me, doesn't sound right.
Yeah. No, it's an ode to, and I take the question as the next 10 games.
Yeah.
Not the whole season is thanks to Thomas Partey.
Well,
and I think
Thomas
Christian
Partey-
made a good point of... No, I was
Well,
saying
Thomas-
Christian's Gundogan point is what I think of.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, Christian, you got another one? Oh, big
Would've
smile.
loved-
He's ready for this one.
I would have loved to see Rob's reaction to this one,
I can't wait.
but
By the way,
Theo
shout out
Walcott.
Rob. Shout out Rob. He is currently not on this podcast because he's at Disneyland and he's like 35 years old. So shout out Rob. Please go on.
everybody
Christian.
has a kid inside. So Theo Walcott,
Ooh, more
it's a bigger Arsenal legend than Robin van Persie.
I knew you were going to do this.
It's higher on the legend list, tier list, than Robin van Persie.
I don't think
God.
you or I should answer this. I think Victor, unbiased, should answer this.
You guys already
before
know my
we do.
answer. If I ask this question, that's my take.
Honestly,
I'm trying to
Yes.
remove my bias. But go ahead, Victor.
strongly agree.
Yes.
I think if any player leaves my club to go to a direct rival and literally wins them the league, they are dead to me. And I don't care what they've done before that.
I can't
And
put
then-
it any better.
Yeah, I mean, that's very much
I would
sums it up. And
I would drop
couple
this
words.
mic if I could, but I really don't want to pay for a new one. Yeah, Victor nailed it. Rob, a mega Liverpool supporter who wants nothing but the worst for Arsenal over the course of the next 10 games, literally just said that. If you don't listen to that and stop the RVP obsession, Rob is obsessed with RVP, but yet he thinks that Fabregas is a Judas.
Huh?
It
What?
makes no sense.
What? That makes
I
no-
don't count. I don't count Fabregas as a Judas.
I love
Is
Fabregas.
my
He went
favorite
home.
Arsenal player. I know. That's what I'm saying. I was like, it's not the same. And he never spoke anything
bad.
the way that Robin van Persie spoke about our club.
That Persie
His
shows
club. He
up
used to be the
in
captain.
Like he doesn't. What was
Yeah, he
the
goes
last?
to the Man U Academy. He's not invited. That's why.
Wonder why.
Yeah.
No.
Trash.
I can give a Liverpool one if you guys want to change it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Virgil van Dijk is the
Oh,
best Premier League defender of all time.
I did
Of all
not.
time.
I figured 1,000,000% this was going to be a Van Dijk versus Saliba comment, and I'm very.
I thought it was
going
going to be this season.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Prime
Virgil
Van Dijk.
van Dijk.
Prime Van Dijk is the best center back the Premier League has ever seen. That's my statement.
Oh. So let's just real quick, like, if let's say who's in the conversation for best ever Premier League defender, I would say Nemanja Vidic. I would say
Jason Terry.
Jason Terry, the NBA player who is like 6 foot and wore a headband and 3 pairs of socks.
No.
Oh, the guy who banged Wayne Bridges' wife, his teammate.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, John Terry.
John Terry.
Okay, cool. That guy.
John Terry. I think Rio Ferdinand is also there.
I
hate to say it, but I think Ledley King would be in that conversation, but he was never fit. So he can't. I don't think he can be. So I'm taking him right back out. And he played for Tottenham and their shit.
Yap Stam and stuff. I think it's realistically Rio, Vidic, Van Dijk, Terry. If you want to like.
Oh, that's hard. I mean, I find myself going, it's Van Dijk or Vidic. Ooh.
Like I said, I hate Chelsea, but I think John Terry was pretty legit.
I think Terry was better than Vidic.
Really?
Even Rio was better than Vidic.
He's a piece of shit. He might be a piece of shit, but he was really good.
I obviously strongly agree.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say disagree. Not strongly disagree, but disagree, because I'm a big fan of like the back in the 2000s Premier League, and I think John Terry, in my opinion, it was the best one that I have seen, and it's not even my team. I don't even like him, but that's who I think it was. And he faced crazy strikers like that Alan Shearer, Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. I mean, that generation of strikers, Wayne Rooney, like Tevez, Ronaldo. So, I don't know. I would say disagree.
Wow, that's so hard. I mean, like, I watched a good amount of Rio Ferdinand and John Terry and Vincent Kompany and those guys. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I knew like Saul Campbell, Steve Bruce, like the Nevilles, like through and through in terms of like defenders. And did you say central defender or defender?
We'll keep it center back. Yeah, that's center back.
Yeah. The only one who gets in the mix, if we say otherwise, in my opinion, is probably Ashley Cole. But
yeah, which is
another traitor.
Yeah. Like, it's hard because
that's why
I'm gonna say, I know I'm gonna say agree, but it's very difficult because they played in such different eras. So the reason I'm giving the nod to Van Dijk is I think defensively he was unbeatable. I mean, I don't remember ever seeing him get beaten for like multiple years on end. I didn't see him make any mistakes. I think his like dribbled pass, like the streak he had was ridiculous at one point of not being dribbled past, but he can also play with his feet. And I think it might be a little unfair because those other guys were in an era where defenders were not supposed to or expected to. Not even expected to. They weren't supposed to play with their feet, really.
Yeah.
So I just think because of the fact that he came up in the modern game, I'm going to go with agree. Van Dijk is the best.
Yeah,
I'd love to see, because if you threw those older guys into this era, it would be bad. If you threw Van Dijk into that era, that'd be super interesting. Would he be as good at that game as John Terry and Nemanja Vidic were? I don't know. but
I
I'm going to
honestly,
go with
I,
agree.
I think so. Like, I think if you put Van Dijk to defend deep, gonna do it. And I've seen him do it a few times when we've had to hold on to leads. Not this past weekend because we didn't do that, but in previous seasons.
That was painful.
Yeah, it was bad. But I think it's one of those. It's almost like a LeBron MJ kind of conversation where it's like different generations. What if you put one in the other, et cetera, et cetera. I just think overall, just physically, how good he is with his feet. And even if you start looking at the numbers and everything and how good he was 7 points away from winning a Ballon d'Or in the Messi and Ronaldo era.
Yeah.
That's one vote, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like 1 or 2 votes. It's insane. And he was voted the best player in Europe. He won like the UEFA award for best player in Europe in the Messi Ronaldo era as a center back. It's insane. And just watching him, the presence he has, and I don't consider this his prime. I think he's very close to back to his best. When I say prime Van Dijk, I'm talking 2019, 2018 Van Dijk. But even this season, that final against Chelsea, I've never seen a center back do what he did. It felt like someone compared it to like there was a Stevie G sort of aura about him of like, captain, I'm going to get this done. He scored, had it overturned, what I thought was an awful fucking call.
It was a terrible call.
And then just did it again in overtime as a center back to win a cup final with a bunch of kids. There's just something about Van Dijk, and I think you could throw him into any era. But you look at him now; he defends practically by himself at times. It's him and another center back on the halfway line. If you put any of the past generation there, they are getting destroyed. You watch him that 1-on-1 against Holland.
That was cool.
There's the 1-on-1 that was going viral against Mbappe because all the Mbappe fans are like, "Oh, love to see him do that against Mbappe." He has. I've seen him keep up with Adama Traore. Like, it's crazy how good Van Dijk is. So to me, I've never seen a center back better than him. At least not in the prime. If you want to argue like Sergio Ramos and stuff, sure, we can have a conversation.
Yeah, we're talking prem.
Yeah, purely prem. To me, he's the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, the one thing I really give him credit, just to echo what you said about the final, is that like when you're playing with a kid next to you is your center back pairing, and don't get me wrong, like Konsa or whatever his name is has done really well, but you are also coaching them through the match when you do that. Like, you have so much focus on them and their positioning and anticipating and trying not to get bad matchups and like the immense nonstop focus and fortitude of that is so crazy. And that's part of what has impressed me so much about like Gabriel this season, the way he's like all these different guys playing left back next to him, and he's constantly like coaching them and telling them where to go. And like Kivior, like he's always yelling at Kivior and pointing him where to go, but it's not like yelling at, it's like instructing and helping him, and things like that. And that's just like, and then like they get, sometimes when that happens, you get Payne as having a bad game. It's like, well, or like the young defender is like, wow, he was flawless. And it's like, yeah, dude, that's because the other center back took on all the hard work and basically put him in a position where he couldn't screw up half the time. So yeah, further credit to Van Dijk.
Sure.
Let's see, I got one more from the gram. So Ben Neistat, what's up, Ben? He says only one of Emile Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira will be at Arsenal next season. I'm gonna say disagree.
Agree.
Oh, you agree? I say disagree. Go ahead.
No, I just think that we will finally see a Vieira alone. So he's going to be at Arsenal, but not in the squad.
I count alone is not at Arsenal next season.
Yeah, so I would agree.
Yeah. I would.
I think they're gonna listen to the podcast and they're gonna see like we should do what PJ's fucking been telling me to do for the past 6 months.
You mean 2
Doing
years?
it.
Year and a half, whatever it's
Since
been.
he got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to disagree. Just because I think these 2 seasons were the seasons Fabio Vieira should have been on loan. And I think if he hasn't gone yet, I struggle to find that in year 3 they'll loan him. I think that would constitute giving up. I wish they would do it. I hope they do it. I pray to God they do it because he's a baller, but he's not getting minutes, and that's like the worst thing that can happen to you at this age, in my opinion. And I also think Emile Smith Rowe will just want to stay and fight first place, and Arteta will be happy for him to do it. So I think they're both going to be there next season. That's just me thinking reality. What do I want? I want Emile Smith Rowe to stay, and I want Fabio Vieira to go on loan. He cost 35 million quid. We're not getting anywhere near recouping that right now, in my opinion, even though he has shown flashes. But I think the only way that we can do that is like I could see a Sambi style loan, and he kills it the way that Sambi's absolutely killing it at Luton, as your manager pointed out, Victor. And I hope he comes back ready to fight for his place and have a spot, or we decide to sell high. I think Arsenal is starting to learn, as evidenced by the Flo Balogun sale this summer, the concept of young talents, having them get hot and sell them high. So that's why I think Mika Berith, who's going off right now at Sturm Graz after he had that really good loan in Scotland, he's not coming back and getting in the mix next season. He's either going on a really high level loan or we're selling high. And I think Sambi, there's zero chance that Sambi comes back into this Arsenal team. I think we're selling high. If he's not the perfect fit, Arteta's going to be like, sell him, get money. And Fabio Vieira, I mean, he doesn't have a choice. So I think he's still going to be at Arsenal too. Victor, I don't know how in the know you are on Fabio Vieira, but
not much because I know he doesn't play much.
yeah,
I think that I saw the quote recently about Ramsdale, I think, calling him the most underrated player at Arsenal.
yep, that did happen.
So,
And Reece Nelson said Martinelli and Eddie are the 2 best finishers at the club, and you would probably give a nod to Eddie. So other fun quotes from the international window.
let me get the exact statement again.
Only one of Emile Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira will be at Arsenal next season. And I consider going on loan not being at Arsenal.
I'm actually going to say strongly agree and touch back to my point from earlier in the podcast where I said Arsenal need to be ruthless. And if they're not good enough to get into the team now, why would they be next season when you want to keep getting better each year? So I could be totally wrong. You guys obviously know a lot more about your squad in the day-to-day than I do, but just from an outsider perspective, I think you guys are going to be ruthless this summer to try to just keep improving. If you're not playing now, and let's say you finish second in the league, you want to get first, get out of my club, and we'll get better. So,
Yep, I agree. I think in the Arsenal of old, 5 years ago, you could stay and develop. Hence why Saka broke through so young. Why Smith Rowe broke through so young. Why Eddie even got a breakthrough so young. Those guys would never break through right now in the way that they did if they were coming up the same way. I could see Saka getting some minutes here and there, but that's probably it. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. If we want to get better, we have to buy. It's not going to really happen from the odds of it happening from within are very low. Although I say this as Liverpool is clearly developing from within.
But I mean, we talked about this. We're being forced to. It's not because we want to be honest.
Yeah, but you said Bradley would have broken through this year anyways.
I think Bradley and Kwanzaa, just because lack of depth at right back and center back. And, Joel Matip's going to get hurt. You know that Trent is not going to play a single game. It's just how it is. but some of the other players like Jaden Dance would have never played this season, realistically. So it's normal to have one or two who are playing and getting minutes. And you guys are going to be in the Champions League next season. You guys, there are obviously 2 cup competitions. You need those young guys, but they'll play the cup competitions. The last game of a Champions League group, that doesn't matter. That's one thing. Playing them against Man City like we are is, or Chelsea in a cup final, only happens because we needed it to. So it works, and thank God it has worked. But ideally, if the season was going as perfectly as we wanted it to, probably only Connor Bradley and Kwanzaa.
All right, I'm going to throw the last question in.
Let's do it.
I'm going to steal Ben's question style. We're going to throw it back on Liverpool. One of Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk will not be at Liverpool next season.
Strongly disagree. Strongly disagree.
Don't talk with your heart.
No, I know that's me talking with my brain for sure. Strongly disagree.
Okay, I want to hear your reasoning before I say anything.
Yeah,
I mean, you know better than we would, honestly.
I think Van Dijk has proven that he's back to his best after a year recovering from that ACL. Fuck Jordan Pickford. We'll always have to say it.
I mean, we disagree here. Or we agree. Sorry, we strongly agree. He's the one keeping Ramsdale out of the England tie with his fucking dino arms. But anyways.
I hate him. But anyway. And I think Salah is not showing any signs of slowing down either.
I'm not talking about slowing down. I'm talking about will they be at Liverpool?
Yeah, and so I don't think we're selling either one of them. I don't think Salah has any interest in leaving. Neither does Van Dijk. They've both come out and said it. Van Dijk had those weird rumors because he was like, yeah, I'll see what happens. And then he came out and kind of clarified that it's being taken out of context. Salah straight up said, I will be here next season even if there's a new manager. So the manager has nothing to do with it. And I think bringing back Edwards and who really brought in both of them. I don't think he wants to sell them because they're not slowing down. And I just don't think anyone's going to come in and pay that sort of money outside of Saudi Arabia. And I don't think either of them want to go. So I would be shocked if either one of our literal 2 best players leave. So strongly disagree.
Yeah. I mean, Barca's not a player anymore. But you think neither of their heads would be turned if Real Madrid came in, or Bayern, or PSG?
Bayern, PSG to replace Mbappe with Salah, maybe. I just think Salah and Van Dijk are both such ambitious players that they only leave if it's Madrid or Barca. I don't think they go to play in France and just not care. Same reason why I don't think I was never worried about Salah going to Saudi Arabia. I think he's an actual ambitious player. So I don't think they would go to PSG. They're on good salaries at Liverpool, especially considering our wage structure. And they seem to be settled. I don't think Madrid come in since they're going after Mbappe. They have really good young center backs. So there's no reason for them to get Van Dijk. And in terms of age brackets, it doesn't suit their philosophy of buying young players. And they're not Brazilian. So, and Barca just cannot afford either one. So I'm not worried about that anymore. Bayern also just doesn't really make sense for me. Especially seeing how Sadio did after leaving. I think there's also this thing of no one has left Liverpool and done well. And I genuinely think that kind of plays into a player's head of should I be leaving what I have here? Look at what happened to Mane, Fabinho, Henderson. Those are kind of bad examples because those 2 are kind of done. Wijnaldum going to PSG and just...
Yep, Wijnaldum's a great example.
I think Mane and Wijnaldum are two like perfect examples of players that were considered. Like Mane was getting Ballon d'Or shouts at one point. Wijnaldum was consistent 7 out of 10 for us each game, and they're now one's in Saudi, one barely plays at Roma. I want to say I don't even know where he's ended up now.
I think so. Yeah, it's where they all end up. I feel like
literally.
But, yeah. No, I also will say I'm not going to strongly disagree, but I disagree in terms of not. Yeah, I think they'll both still be at the club next year. I think they'll both give it at least 1 year.
Yeah.
Without Klopp and see how it goes.
Yeah. If the question was 2 years, I'd lean more towards disagree. Also, just put that out there.
Christian, any thoughts? You think they'll both be there next year?
I'm gonna agree. I think Salah might listen to offers for Salah next year. I just looked. His contract expires the following year, so if there's a year that they're gonna get money for him, it's gonna be this one.
Do they have a trigger?
And I don't know. I didn't. He says it's just 3 years from July 2022. So, me thinking Liverpool is gonna want to get some money on the bank, especially if he is willing to go to Saudi Arabia. I think they would definitely do it. I don't think Van Dijk is going anywhere. I think he has a couple more years. And a good peak. I think Salah has been scoring and assisting, but he's not the same guy that he was like 4 or 5 years ago.
I strongly disagree with that statement. Let's make that a statement. Strongly disagree. Was this the most goals and assists in England? And he missed about the last.
That's what I just said. Out of the numbers, if I watch him play, I don't see him play like he used to. And I watch the games because my wife watched the games.
Oh,
so I have to watch them.
I agree.
Okay,
I see that he scores, he assists, and all of a sudden, like, I don't know, he'll just fucking toe poke a ball and he just ends up in an assist. Like, he gets the numbers, he gets them. But the player that he was when everybody was like, holy shit, Salah, like, obviously the years has passed, and if Liverpool wants to get some money out of him, it's gonna be this window, and it's gonna depend on the manager that comes in.
That's very true. I think it really does all come down to who we bring in and system and blah blah blah. But I think Salah is still too good. I generally rather him see out his contract and give us another 30 to 40 goals and assists next season than sell him, because realistically you cannot replace him with anyone else bar players that you cannot sign, which is like Bukayo Saka, which is never happening.
Not with Liverpool's like methodology. At least you're not signing. Yeah. I mean, you did spend 100 on Nunez. So
when Rafa Benitez goes back to Liverpool, he's just gonna sell Salah.
That is literally the worst I've ever heard in my life.
My nightmare.
that is my nightmare.
He's free now. He just got fired. So
yeah, I'll pass.
Oh God, what you're not bringing in Sarri?
I think I'll pass on that one too. I'm really on. We talked about this in the last podcast. I'm really on the Xabi or nothing train right now. I'm still on the delusion that Klopp's not leaving. So let me get through that first.
Oh, he is leaving.
Victor, just to clarify, you're on the Xabi Alonso.
Yes, not Xavi Hernandez. Definitely
okay.
Not.
I knew what you meant. I just, for your sake, I wanted you to be able to clarify.
Xabi Alonso, the good.
Would you take Steven Gerrard?
Definitely not.
I would love him to go to Liverpool.
Actually, I think we should take Mikel Arteta.
I think he did.
Steven Gerrard.
I think he did a decent job at Villa when he started.
I thought he was great.
Then he just blew it.
Rangers. And then just
sign him.
He was very good at Rangers. The first 6 months, maybe season on Villa, he was pretty good. And then I don't know what happened.
No, I will never forgive him for going 2-0 up at the Etihad and just throwing it away. That I will never get over that. I will say
He benched Emiliano Martinez on that game. He put the backup keeper. I was fucked up.
But from a like Arsenal Liverpool perspective, how cool would it be having like Mikel Arteta on the touchline next to Xabi Alonso and like fighting for a title?
Be awesome.
It would be sick.
Yeah.
And I literally said it to a friend of mine the other day, was an Arsenal fan. Like, Xabi Alonso would kind of be our Mikel Arteta, like Spanish CDM who played for the club. Like, it's like weirdly similar. And I think, and he mentioned that I think they're like close friends and like
they grew up together.
Yeah,
in the Sociedad Academy.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna avoid asking the question that we all just don't want to answer, which is title predictions. So,
no.
Well, Victor, we spoke right before
Liverpool. I think Liverpool's gonna win it.
I stand by my prediction has of City's gonna win it. So
yeah, man, the 31st is gonna be bananas.
Yeah,
31st is gonna decide a lot.
Yeah, I just thinking about our game against City and the fact that we should have won and just everything about it is awful. So I'm just City's gonna win.
What a match, though.
It was one of the last two Liverpool games we have shot ourselves in the foot, but both of them I came out of like, wow, those were really entertaining games of football. I wish I didn't care about the result. Like, I wish I watched the City game as a neutral, which you guys didn't either. But I'm sure they're like,
yeah, we weren't fully neutral.
Yeah, I was fighting for that tie. That was my score. The 1-1, 0-0.
You guys won. Arsenal won that game.
Oh, totally. That was the best result we could have gotten.
Yeah, but that United game too, like as a neutral, oh my god, would have been so great. I was livid, but as a neutral, it would have been great.
As the Race Titans, it would be great to bring in a City supporter, as well as you. But unfortunately, there's no real City supporters.
There's no one.
So
yeah, whatever.
They don't even go to the Etihad. Imagine that shit.
Yeah, fair. But I guess we'll never know the City perspective because there is none. There's no fans.
Right.
Yeah, it's a shame. But, all right. I think we can call it there for the first ever Declare and Defend episode of the Absolute Arsenal podcast. That was pretty good. I'm looking forward to some future ones. We got some really good questions. Again, shout out Lex. I think that was nothing against anybody else's questions. I thought that was the best of the bunch. That was the most fun to debate. So
what was that one? The Walcott one?
Prime Walcott versus Prime Martinelli. That was tough. Yeah. So I told you, Lex, I promised you, brother, we were going to get to it. It took a while, but it was going to be a good debate. So it was worthwhile. Yeah. So again, quick shout outs again. Christian Escalera, Victor Jeronimo, I'm PJ Davidson, and we will be back again next week finding something to kill time with before we get to March 31st and the Arsenal City game. I've never been so not excited for a match. I just I'm totally fine letting this can we just wait a few more weeks? I'm in no rush. All right. Anyways, we love you guys. Arteta in.